Hi guys, tonight, we travel back into the world's most forgotten history. Close your eyes, relax, and drift gently into another time. Leave behind the noise of the present and follow a quiet path that winds through fields still covered in the cool breath of dawn. The sky is pale, neither dark nor bright, and the first birds have only just begun to greet the morning. Nothing moves quickly here. The hours unfold with patience, just as they have for countless seasons. Welcome to another quiet journey through the past. Tonight's story begins in an age where nearly every day looked much like the one before it. It was not an age remembered for ordinary people. The names of kings filled old books. The stories of great battles crossed distant lands. Tall castles stood proudly against the horizon. Yet beneath all of those famous stories lived millions of quiet souls whose names disappeared long ago. Their lives left few written words behind. Still, they woke before sunrise. They walked familiar paths. They carried water, baked bread, tended fields, and rested weary hands beneath the evening sky. This is their story. Not the story of rulers seated upon carved chairs beneath colorful banners, but the gentle rhythm of people whose greatest hope was often a healthy harvest, a warm loaf of bread, and another peaceful morning. Let the slow passing of their days carry you softly toward sleep. The village is still wrapped in darkness. Only a handful of windows show the faint glow of firelight. Inside one small timber house, a woman quietly places another piece of wood onto the fading coals. She does not wish to wake the children too early. The room is small, and everyone sleeps close together. Thick blankets woven from rough wool cover tired bodies that have worked hard every day for many years. The air smells of smoke. It always smells a little of smoke. The fire warms the home, dries damp clothing, cooks meals, and gives light after sunset. Tiny wisps of ash float upward before disappearing into the shadows of the roof. Outside, the earth is cool beneath bare feet. A rooster calls somewhere beyond a nearby fence. Another answers from farther away. Soon the village will awaken together, not because of clocks or bells marking every passing minute, but because the land itself quietly asks for another day's work. A man slowly opens the wooden door. Cool morning air brushes against his face. He pauses for a moment. Perhaps he enjoys these few peaceful breaths before labor begins. Around him the fields rest beneath a blanket of silver mist. Drops of dew cling to every blade of grass, shining softly as the eastern sky slowly grows brighter. The path leading away from his home is already familiar beneath his worn shoes. He has walked this same road thousands of times. Each season changes its appearance only slightly. Spring covers it with soft green edges. Summer makes the dust rise beneath every step. Autumn scatters fallen leaves across its surface. Winter leaves it muddy and cold. The path remembers everyone. Every child who learned to walk. Every old woman carrying firewood. Every farmer leading an ox. Every merchant arriving with stories from places few villagers would ever see. Nothing here is hurried. The rhythm of village life is shaped by sunrise and sunset, by rain and dry weather, by planting and harvest. Each day fits quietly inside the larger circle of the year. Inside another nearby cottage, someone begins kneading bread. The flour is coarse. Small bits of grain remain within it because the millstones cannot grind everything perfectly smooth. Hands push and fold the heavy dough again and again with practiced patience. The sound is soft, almost comforting. Nearby, a clay pot hangs above the fire. Porridge cooks slowly. Steam rises into the dim room. Children begin to stir beneath their blankets. One rubs sleepy eyes. Another reaches for warmth beside the fading fire. Morning always arrives before anyone feels fully rested. There is too much to do. Animals must be fed before people eat. The cow waits quietly inside its shelter. The chickens scratch at the ground as soon as daylight appears. A pig sniffs damp earth near the fence. These animals are not simply companions. They are part of the family's survival. Every egg matters. Every bucket of milk matters. Every healthy animal helps carry another season forward. As the sun slowly climbs, more doors open throughout the village. Smoke rises from many rooftops. Voices remain low. People have little reason to shout. They know one another well. Some families have lived beside each other for generations. Grandparents remember planting trees that now shade their grandchildren. The village itself seems almost alive. Its narrow paths curve gently between cottages built from timber, woven branches, clay, and straw. Roofs bend slightly beneath years of weather. Walls lean just enough to reveal their age. Nothing appears perfect. Nothing needs to. The homes were built by neighbors helping neighbors. Every beam carries the memory of many hands lifting together. A young boy carries 2 wooden buckets toward the village well. The buckets feel heavier each year as he grows stronger. Water splashes gently with every careful step on the uneven ground. He knows exactly where the deepest puddles form after rain. He knows which stones become slippery. He knows where wildflowers bloom beside the path during warmer months. His world is not large. Yet it is deeply familiar. Every corner holds memories. Every season brings quiet changes noticed only by those who live here every day. Beyond the cottages lie long strips of farmland. The fields stretch gently across the countryside. No single family owns one perfect square. Instead, narrow strips are divided among many households. Each family walks from one piece of land to another throughout the day. The soil is worked slowly. Wooden plows, pulled by patient oxen, cut shallow lines into the earth. The work demands strength more than speed. Hands become rough. Shoulders grow broad. Backs learn to bend without complaint. The farmer says little while guiding the plow. There is no need for many words. The sound of wooden wheels. The breathing of the ox. Birdsong drifting across open fields. These are enough companions for the morning. Clouds move lazily overhead. Sometimes they promise rain. Sometimes they pass without giving a single drop. Every farmer watches the sky with quiet hope. Weather shapes life more than almost anything else. Too much rain. Too little rain. A late frost. A dry summer. Each can change the coming year before anyone realizes it. Still, people continue planting. Hope is always placed carefully into the soil beside every seed. As morning grows warmer, the village slowly fills with gentle activity. Women gather herbs near garden fences. Older children collect sticks for cooking fires. Grandparents sit outside repairing baskets, mending clothing, or peeling vegetables beneath soft sunlight. A spinning wheel turns slowly. Its gentle rhythm almost matches the singing of distant birds. Thread forms little by little beneath experienced fingers. Nothing is wasted. Old clothing becomes patches. Broken tools are repaired. Wood is used until almost nothing remains. Life teaches patience because there is rarely another choice. Even small objects are valuable. An iron knife may serve one family for decades. A wooden spoon may pass from parent to child. Clay pots are handled carefully. Each one represents many hours of careful work. The village blacksmith has already begun his day. His workshop is warmer than anywhere else. The fire burns brightly inside a stone hearth. Metal glows orange before meeting the steady rhythm of the hammer. Each strike echoes softly through nearby streets. People recognize the sound immediately. It is part of daily life. The blacksmith repairs broken plowshares, sharpens knives, shapes horseshoes, and fashions simple tools needed by everyone. His work is heavy. His arms are strong. Yet even here there is little hurry. Good work cannot be rushed. Across the village, another craftsman shapes wood. Curled shavings fall quietly onto the floor. The scent of fresh timber fills the small workshop. He smooths rough edges with practiced hands. A stool. A bucket. A cartwheel. Simple things. Useful things. Objects meant to last as long as possible. Children occasionally pause outside open workshop doors. They watch quietly. Perhaps one day they will learn these same skills. Learning rarely comes from books here. It comes from watching, repeating, practicing, making mistakes, trying again. As the sun climbs higher, warmth settles over the fields. People remove heavy outer garments. Sweat forms along brows. Hands wipe dust across already dusty faces. No one complains very much. Hard work has always been expected. The earth asks for effort before giving food in return. Near a stream beyond the village, women wash clothing against smooth stones. Water flows gently around their ankles. Soap is simple. The work is steady. Cloth is scrubbed, rinsed, twisted, and spread across bushes or ropes to dry beneath open skies. Conversations drift quietly between them. Family news. Weather. Children. Harvest. Nothing hurried. Nothing dramatic. Simple voices carried gently by moving water. The stream itself continues flowing just as it did long before the village existed. It reflects clouds drifting overhead. Dragonflies skim across its surface. Tiny fish disappear beneath shadows cast by overhanging branches. Life here moves softly. Even time itself seems slower. Far away, the great events remembered in history books continue unfolding. Kings issue commands. Lords settle disputes. Messengers ride dusty roads between castles. Yet very little of that reaches this quiet place immediately. Here, tomorrow will probably resemble today. And next week will likely resemble tomorrow. The routine itself becomes a kind of comfort. People know what each season asks of them. They understand where each path leads. They recognize every face. The village bell eventually rings. Its sound is calm rather than urgent. The notes drip gently across fields before fading into the warm air. Some pause briefly. Others continue working. Life has its own steady rhythm beyond any single sound. As afternoon slowly approaches, shadows shorten. The warmth grows heavier. Workers pause beneath trees whenever possible. Bread is shared. Cheese. Onions. Perhaps a little ale carried in simple wooden containers. Meals are plain. Yet after hours of labor, they satisfy hungry stomachs. Conversation remains gentle. Many simply enjoy sitting quietly. Listening to leaves move softly overhead. Watching clouds drift across endless blue. There is no need to fill every silence. Silence itself feels natural here. The afternoon still holds many hours. Fields continue waiting. Animals still need tending. Wood must be gathered. Fences repaired. Tools cleaned. The day stretches onward with calm determination, one familiar task flowing naturally into the next as the quiet life of the medieval village continues beneath the slow turning of the seasons. The afternoon settles gently over the village. The bright light of midday slowly begins to soften, though many hours of work still remain. The warmth lingers in the fields, resting on every blade of grass and every weathered fence post. A quiet breeze moves through the grain, creating slow waves that travel across the countryside like gentle ripples across a peaceful pond. The farmers return to their work without speaking very much. There is comfort in familiar silence. The earth beneath their feet has been walked by parents and grandparents before them. Every small rise in the field is known. Every large stone has been worked around for generations. Even the oldest oak tree standing at the edge of the pasture has watched countless harvests come and go. An older farmer pauses for a moment. He rests both hands upon the smooth wooden handle of his hoe and slowly straightens his back. Years of labor have taught his body to move carefully. His shoulders are broad, but they carry the quiet weight of many seasons. He looks across the fields without hurry. Clouds drift lazily above. The wind carries the scent of warm grass, freshly turned soil, and distant wood smoke from the village. Nothing feels rushed. The work will end only when daylight begins to fade. Nearby, younger workers continue pulling weeds between rows of vegetables. Their hands move with quiet practice. They know which plants should remain and which should be pulled away before they steal water from the growing crops. The soil is dry near the surface. When they dig a little deeper, it becomes cool again. Tiny earthworms disappear beneath loose dirt. Small birds follow behind, searching patiently for insects uncovered by the day's work. Nature quietly joins every task. Nothing exists alone. A young girl carries a woven basket toward the kitchen garden beside her family's home. Inside the basket are onions gathered earlier that morning, a handful of beans, and several bunches of fresh herbs tied neatly with thin pieces of twine. The garden is small. Almost every home keeps one. It does not produce enough to feed a family through the entire year, but it offers many simple comforts. Parsley grows beside cabbage. Leeks stand in neat rows. A few carrots push quietly beneath the soil. Sometimes there are peas climbing rough wooden poles. Sometimes only hardy greens remain after a difficult season. Each plant receives careful attention. Every meal depends upon many small acts of patience. Inside the cottage, the afternoon light slips through tiny openings in the wooden shutters. It falls softly across the packed earth floor. The room is simple. One table. Several stools. Shelves holding clay bowls and wooden cups. Bundles of dried herbs hang from dark ceiling beams. Their gentle scent fills the warm air. Lavender. Sage. Thyme. Mint. Some are used in cooking. Others may help soothe a cough or ease an aching stomach. Knowledge of plants passes quietly from one generation to the next. No books are needed. Children learn by watching careful hands. Grandmothers point to leaves growing beside the paths and explain which ones may help a fever, which ones flavor soup, and which should never be touched. These lessons become part of daily life. Outside again, several women sit together beneath the shade of a broad tree. Their hands rarely stop moving. One spins wool into thread. Another repairs a torn cloak. A third carefully embroiders a small pattern onto linen that will someday become part of a wedding chest. The work is delicate. The conversation is even softer. Stories drift between them. Memories of winters long past. The birth of a neighbor's child. A good harvest remembered from many years ago. Someone quietly laughs. The sound is warm rather than loud. It disappears into the gentle rustling of leaves above. Nearby, children invent simple games. A smooth stick becomes a toy sword for only a moment before turning into a shepherd's staff. Small stones become pieces in games whose rules have been learned from older brothers and sisters. There are no painted toys filling shelves. No colorful boxes waiting to be opened. The fields, the streams, the forests, and the village itself provide enough for curious minds. Their laughter carries lightly across the open space before settling once again into peaceful quiet. Not every child is free to play for long. Even the youngest have small duties. One gathers eggs from beneath patient hens. Another watches younger brothers and sisters while parents continue working. Some collect kindling from nearby woodland paths. Others help carry water. These small responsibilities become ordinary parts of growing older. No ceremony marks the change. One season simply follows another. A child slowly becomes someone others depend upon. Beyond the village, a shepherd guides a flock across open pasture. The sheep move slowly, stopping often to graze. Their thick wool catches the afternoon sunlight. The shepherd walks with patient steps behind them, carrying only a wooden staff and a small bag holding bread and cheese. Hours pass quietly. There is little conversation. Only the soft sounds of grazing animals. The occasional call of distant birds. The whisper of wind moving through tall grass. Sometimes solitude becomes its own kind of companion. The shepherd learns every hill, every stream crossing, every patch of wildflowers blooming at different times of the year. He notices changes others may never see. A tree struck by lightning. Fresh animal tracks beside the creek. The first blossoms of spring. The earliest signs of autumn carried upon cool morning air. His world is measured not by calendars but by seasons. Back within the village, the mill wheel turns steadily. Water from the nearby stream pushes against broad wooden paddles. The wheel creaks gently as it completes another slow circle. Inside the mill, heavy stones grind grain into flour. Dust hangs softly in the air. It settles upon clothing, hair, and wooden beams. The miller watches carefully. The stones must remain balanced. Too much pressure wastes grain. Too little leaves it poorly ground. Like so much of village life, the task demands patience more than speed. Families arrive carrying sacks of grain harvested months before. They wait their turn without complaint. Waiting has always been part of life. Few things happen quickly here. As the afternoon stretches onward, sunlight slowly changes. Golden tones begin replacing the bright white light of midday. Long shadows appear beneath fences and fruit trees. The heat becomes easier to bear. A pair of oxen continue pulling a heavy cart loaded with firewood toward the village. Each slow step presses deep into the dusty road. The wooden wheels leave familiar tracks. The driver gently speaks to the animals in a calm voice. There is no need to hurry them. The road is uneven. The load is heavy. They will arrive before darkness. That is enough. Near the edge of the forest, several villagers gather fallen branches. No living tree is cut without careful thought. Wood is precious. It warms homes through winter. It bakes bread. It cooks every meal. It repairs fences and roofs. Nothing useful is wasted. Even the smallest bundle of sticks has value. The forest itself feels peaceful. Tall trees filter the sunlight into soft patterns upon the ground. Birdsong echoes high above. Moss grows quietly across fallen logs. The cool shade offers welcome relief after many hours beneath the open sky. Some pause simply to breathe the cooler air before continuing their work. Farther along the woodland path, an elderly man slowly walks home carrying a bundle of herbs gathered for drying. His pace is careful. His hands show the marks of many years. His face is lined by sunlight, cold winters, and countless days spent outdoors. Yet his eyes remain gentle. He notices small things. A feather resting beside the path. A squirrel climbing an old oak. Fresh mushrooms growing beneath damp leaves. These quiet discoveries bring simple satisfaction. The world offers small gifts to those who move slowly enough to see them. As afternoon gradually becomes evening, smoke once again rises from cottage chimneys. Cooking fires are lit. The comforting scent of baking bread begins drifting through the village. Pots of vegetable stew simmer gently above glowing coals. Someone slices onions. Someone else stirs oats into a thick porridge. Fresh herbs are added near the very end. Their fragrance fills the room. Children return from their small tasks. Farmers wash dusty hands in cool buckets of water drawn from the well. Faces are tired. Clothing is worn. Boots carry dried mud from the fields. But there is quiet satisfaction in work honestly finished. The village slowly gathers itself once more. Not in one place, but in many small homes where families prepare to share the evening meal beneath the growing calm of the fading light. Outside, the western sky begins to glow with soft shades of gold, rose, and pale violet. The day's labor gently gives way to the peaceful hours that always arrive before night fully settles across the sleeping countryside. The golden light of late afternoon slowly slips across the village. Every roof catches the last warmth of the sun. The timber walls glow softly, and the narrow footpaths, worn smooth by countless footsteps, seem almost peaceful beneath the gentle light. Shadows grow longer with each passing moment, stretching across gardens, fences, and the quiet yards where chickens scratch among scattered straw. The busiest hours of the day are nearly over. No one speaks of finishing. There is simply a shared understanding that the work naturally slows as daylight begins to fade. The fields have received what they could from willing hands. The gardens have been watered. The animals have been fed once more. The tools now wait to be cleaned before another sunrise asks for them again. One by one, the farmers return along familiar paths. Their shoulders are heavy with honest tiredness. Dust rests upon their boots. Tiny pieces of straw cling to rough wool clothing. Their hands are dark with soil that has worked its way into every small line of their skin. These hands tell quiet stories. They have planted seeds, lifted stones, built fences, held frightened lambs during spring, carried sleeping children home after long village festivals, mended broken wheels, cut grain beneath the warmth of countless summers. Every scar has its own forgotten memory. At the edge of the village, a young woman waits beside the well. She slowly lowers a wooden bucket into the cool darkness below. The rope slides gently through her hands. A quiet splash echoes upward. Then comes the slow pull back toward the evening light. Water glistens along the sides of the bucket. Small drops fall onto the old stones surrounding the well. Many generations have stood in this very place. The stones themselves have grown smooth beneath thousands upon thousands of footsteps. If they could speak, they would remember nearly every family who ever lived here. Nearby, two small children carefully carry kindling toward their home. The sticks are tied together with a simple cord. The bundle is not large. It does not need to be. Tomorrow there will be another journey into the nearby woodland. Firewood is never gathered only once. It is part of life, returning again and again like the changing seasons. The younger child occasionally stops to look at something interesting along the path. A tiny snail crossing the damp earth. A feather caught beneath a bush. A bright yellow flower still open beneath the evening sun. There is time to notice such things. The village moves slowly enough for small wonders to remain visible. From an open doorway comes the comforting sound of bread being sliced. The loaf has only recently been taken from the oven. Its crust crackles softly beneath the knife. Warm steam rises into the room. The smell drifts gently through the cool evening air. Fresh bread carries a kind of quiet happiness. It speaks of another day completed. Another family fed. Another evening gathered around the table. Inside the cottage, the meal is simple. Dark bread. Thick vegetable stew. A little cheese. Perhaps onions roasted beside the fire. Sometimes there is smoked fish. Sometimes a little salted pork saved for special days. Nothing is wasted. Every bowl is emptied carefully. Every crumb is gathered from the table. Food has required too much work to be forgotten. The family eats without great ceremony. Conversation rises and falls gently. Someone asks about the fields. Someone wonders whether rain may come tomorrow. An older child quietly tells of seeing a fox near the pasture. Grandmother smiles. She has seen many foxes over many years. Some stories are new only to the young. As the meal continues, the fire becomes the brightest light inside the room. Its warm glow dances across rough wooden walls. Clay bowls catch the flickering light. Shadows move gently along the ceiling beams. Outside, the sky slowly deepens from gold to soft blue. The first evening star quietly appears. No one rushes to notice it. It simply becomes part of the night. After supper, the work has not entirely ended. Wooden bowls are washed with cool water. The cooking pot is cleaned before tomorrow. Leftover bread is wrapped in cloth. Ashes are carefully arranged within the hearth so that the morning fire may be started more easily. These small tasks are never forgotten. They make tomorrow just a little easier. In another cottage nearby, an elderly grandfather sits upon a low wooden stool. His hands continue moving even after the evening meal. He repairs a leather strap worn thin by many months of use. His eyesight is no longer as sharp as it once was. Still, his fingers remember every movement. Experience often lives in the hands long after strength begins to fade. A young grandson watches quietly. He says very little. There is no lesson announced aloud. The child simply observes. He notices how carefully the stitches are placed. How patiently each knot is tied. How nothing is hurried. This is how many skills pass through generations. Not through long explanations, but through quiet evenings spent together beneath warm firelight. Outside, the village lane has become calm. Most animals have settled for the night. The chickens perch quietly inside their coop. The sheep gather close together. The oxen breathe slowly within their shelter after another day of steady work. A horse stamps gently against the earth before lowering its head once more. Even the village dogs seem less eager to bark. They stretch comfortably beside warm doorways. The air itself feels different now. Cooler. Softer. The smell of warm earth slowly mixes with the scent of evening dew. Somewhere beyond the fields, an owl calls. Its voice carries across the quiet countryside before fading into silence. The sound is familiar. No one finds it strange. Night has its own gentle music. Crickets begin their steady song. Leaves whisper softly whenever the breeze returns. The nearby stream continues flowing with patient certainty, just as it has through every season. Water never hurries. It simply keeps moving. Near the edge of the village stands the small church. Its simple stone walls now appear almost silver beneath the fading sky. The bell has long since fallen silent. The door is closed. Yet somehow its quiet presence offers comfort. For many villagers, it has marked births, weddings, harvest celebrations, and peaceful farewells for generations. Its stones have watched children become parents. Parents become grandparents. And seasons pass without counting. A few villagers pause before returning home. Not for long. Just long enough to stand quietly beneath the evening sky. Some offer silent prayers. Others simply breathe the cool air after the warmth of the day. Both feel equally peaceful. Far beyond the village, the fields stretch into gathering darkness. The rows of grain become softer outlines. The distant forest slowly blends into the horizon. The world grows quieter with every passing minute. The day's sounds begin to disappear one by one. The steady tapping of the carpenter has ended. The blacksmith's hammer now rests beside the cooling forge. The mill wheel turns more slowly as evening deepens. The marketplace, small though it is, stands empty. Only scattered footprints remain in the dust. A gentle mist begins forming above the nearby meadow. It gathers silently. Thin at first. Almost invisible. Then slowly becoming a soft white blanket across the grass. The sheep resting there seem almost to float within it. The village looks peaceful now. Smoke rises lazily from only a few remaining chimneys. The last light lingers in scattered windows. Inside each home, families prepare for sleep in much the same way they prepared the evening meal. Blankets are shaken. The fire is banked carefully. Doors are fastened. Simple candles are trimmed before being extinguished one by one. Darkness enters the room gently. Not all at once. A mother quietly hums an old melody while settling a small child beneath thick wool blankets. The tune has no famous name. Perhaps it never did. It has simply been sung for many generations. The words have changed over time. The melody has changed a little too. Yet its purpose remains the same. To tell a tired child that the day is finished. That the house is warm. That morning will come again. The child closes sleepy eyes. Outside, stars slowly multiply across the clear night sky. Without the glow of distant cities, they appear countless. Bright rivers of light stretch overhead. Many villagers know these stars well. Not by written charts, but by years of looking upward while walking home from fields beneath quiet autumn evenings or cold winter nights. They have watched the heavens through every season of their lives. The same stars shone above their grandparents. And above those who came before them. The village rests beneath that endless sky, wrapped in the quiet certainty that tomorrow will arrive much like today did, with the soft light of dawn, the scent of fresh bread, the steady rhythm of honest work, and the comforting routine that has shaped every ordinary life for generations, as the peaceful night settles ever more deeply over the sleeping countryside. Night settles fully over the village. The last traces of daylight have quietly slipped beyond the distant hills, leaving only the gentle glow of the moon and the countless stars above. The narrow lanes that were busy only a few hours ago now rest in silence. Their dusty surfaces hold the footprints of the day's labor, but no one passes by now except the occasional traveler, moving slowly beneath the pale light. Most homes have grown quiet. Behind thick wooden doors, families prepare for another night of simple rest. The warmth from the evening fire still lingers inside the cottages. Smoke has settled into the wooden beams over many years, giving every home a familiar scent that never truly disappears. The fire has become smaller now. Instead of bright flames, there are glowing embers. Soft orange light rises and falls beneath a thin layer of gray ash. The room feels peaceful. A mother carefully folds the rough linen cloth that covered the evening table. She places the wooden bowls upon a narrow shelf, each one returned to the same familiar place. Tomorrow morning, before the sun has fully risen, they will be taken down again. Nothing is done carelessly. Routine makes every movement gentle. A father kneels beside the hearth. He adds only a single piece of wood before arranging the coals so that a little warmth will remain until morning. Fire is precious. Starting a completely new fire takes time and effort, so families protect the glowing embers through the night whenever they can. Nearby, 2 children already sleep. They lie beneath thick wool blankets filled with the scent of clean straw and dried herbs. The mattress beneath them is simple, stuffed with straw gathered after the harvest. It is not especially soft, but after a long day filled with walking, lifting, carrying, and helping around the home, sleep comes easily. Their breathing is slow, peaceful. Outside, the wind moves gently across the fields. It bends the tops of the grain in long, graceful waves that cannot easily be seen in the darkness but can be heard as a quiet whisper. The sound travels across the open land before disappearing among the trees beyond the village. The animals have settled as well. Inside the small barn beside one cottage, the family cow lies comfortably upon fresh straw. She chews slowly, her steady breathing filling the dim shelter. The chickens rest quietly upon their wooden perches. A horse shifts its weight once before becoming still again. Only the occasional rustle reminds anyone that life continues even while the village sleeps. Not everyone is asleep. An elderly woman remains awake beside a tiny candle. Its flame is small enough that it barely reaches the corners of the room. She is repairing a wool cloak that has become thin at the elbows after many winters. Her needle moves carefully through the fabric. She has performed this same task countless times. The stitches are small, even, patient. There is no need to hurry. Tomorrow's work will arrive soon enough. For now, the quiet hours belong to slow hands and peaceful thoughts. The candle burns steadily. A small pool of warm wax gathers beneath it. When the cloak is finished, she gently blows out the flame. The room slips into darkness. Only the soft glow from the fireplace remains. Far beyond the cottages, the fields stretch beneath the moonlight. Silver light rests upon the long rows of grain. The dirt paths appear pale against the darker earth. Stone walls cast quiet shadows across the countryside. Everything seems softer at night. The familiar landscape changes without truly becoming unfamiliar. The same hills remain. The same trees. The same streams. Only their colors have become gentler beneath the moon. A narrow path leads toward the nearby woodland. During daylight, villagers walk this way to gather wood, berries, mushrooms, and herbs. Now it stands empty. The forest waits quietly. Tall oaks and beeches rise into the darkness. Their leaves move softly whenever the breeze finds them. Somewhere deep within the trees, an owl glides silently between branches. Its wings make almost no sound. It pauses upon an old limb and watches the peaceful countryside below. Small creatures continue their own quiet lives beneath the moon. A hedgehog searches among fallen leaves. A rabbit pauses beside the edge of the meadow before disappearing once more into the tall grass. The night belongs to them now. The village has given the land back until morning. Inside another cottage, a young couple whispers together before sleep. Their voices are almost too soft to hear. They speak of tomorrow's work. Perhaps there will be more hay to gather. Perhaps the roof should be repaired before autumn rains return. Maybe the youngest child will soon be old enough to help carry water from the well. These are ordinary conversations. Simple plans. Quiet hopes. They carry no dreams of greatness. Only the wish that the coming seasons will be kind. That the harvest will be enough. That sickness will stay away. That another peaceful year may pass. The candle beside them slowly burns lower. Its light grows smaller with every passing minute. Soon it too disappears. Darkness gently fills the room. The moon climbs higher into the sky. Its light slips through tiny openings in wooden shutters, drawing pale lines across packed earth floors and rough timber walls. The village church stands quietly in the center of the settlement. Its stone tower rises above the sleeping rooftops. By day it gathers the people together. By night it simply watches over them. The bell remains silent. No sound disturbs the peaceful darkness. Even the wind seems careful not to linger too long. Near the edge of the village, the stream continues its endless journey. Water slips over smooth stones exactly as it did yesterday. Exactly as it will tomorrow. The stream does not notice the passing years. It simply flows. Its quiet music has lulled generations of villagers to sleep. Children have played along its banks. Women have washed clothing there. Men have filled barrels during dry summers. Old people have rested beside its cool waters after long walks. The stream remembers no names. Only footsteps. Farther away, open fields wait for another sunrise. Tomorrow they will once again welcome farmers carrying wooden tools across dew-covered grass. Oxen will return to their slow work. Birds will search freshly turned soil. Children will walk familiar paths carrying baskets much too large for their small hands. Everything will begin again. Not because anyone commands it. Because this is simply how life moves. One quiet day flowing into another. One season gently replacing the last. One generation teaching the next through countless ordinary mornings and peaceful evenings. The stars continue their silent journey overhead. Many villagers have fallen asleep while looking through tiny windows at those distant lights. Some wonder about them. Most simply accept them as faithful companions above every harvest, every snowfall, every spring blossom, and every summer evening. The stars ask for nothing. They simply shine. Hours pass without anyone noticing. The embers within each fireplace slowly lose their glow. The cottages become cooler. Blankets are pulled a little closer. Somewhere a baby stirs before quickly falling asleep once more. A dog lifts its head for a moment after hearing something far away, then settles back into its warm place beside the doorway. The entire village breathes together in quiet rest. No carts roll along the roads. No hammer strikes iron. No voices call across the fields. Only the gentle sounds of the countryside remain. The whisper of leaves. The steady stream. A distant owl. The quiet breathing of sleeping families. Above them all, the moon slowly crosses the sky, watching over another peaceful night in the forgotten routine of medieval peasants, where ordinary lives unfold with calm patience, one gentle day at a time, awaiting the soft return of dawn that will once again bring the familiar rhythm of bread, fields, family, and quiet labor. Long before the first hint of morning touches the eastern sky, the village still rests beneath a blanket of quiet darkness. The night has reached its deepest hour. The air has grown cooler than it was only a few hours before. A light mist settles over the meadows beyond the cottages, softening every fence, every tree, and every winding path. Even the familiar landmarks seem wrapped in gentle silence, as though the land itself has fallen asleep beside the people who care for it. Inside the cottages, sleep is deep. The long day has asked much from every pair of hands. Farmers rest with tired shoulders. Mothers sleep after tending both children and home from dawn until nightfall. Craftsmen lie quietly beneath thick blankets, their hands still carrying faint traces of sawdust, wool, soot, or iron despite being washed before supper. The body remembers work even while the mind is dreaming. The small fires inside each home have nearly faded. Only a few glowing embers remain beneath pale gray ash. Every so often, a tiny spark appears before disappearing again. The warmth they give is gentle now. Enough to keep away the deepest chill. Enough to greet the family when morning comes. The cottages are simple places. Their walls are built from timber, wattle, and daub, carefully repaired whenever cracks appear after harsh winters or heavy rains. The roofs, covered with thick bundles of straw, have weathered many seasons. Rain has fallen upon them thousands of times. Snow has rested there. Summer winds have dried them beneath bright skies. Each year leaves small marks. Yet the homes continue standing. Not because they were built to be grand, but because they are cared for little by little. A loose bundle of thatch is tied back into place. A cracked beam is strengthened. A worn doorway is repaired before it fails completely. Nothing is allowed to become broken for long if it can still be mended. This quiet habit of repairing instead of replacing shapes nearly every part of village life. A wooden bowl, chipped along one edge, is still useful. A wool cloak with patches sewn across the shoulders continues warming its owner through another winter. A leather boot may receive new sole several times before it is finally laid aside. Every object lives a long life because every object requires many hours of careful work to create. Outside, the sky is filled with stars. They appear brighter now than they did earlier in the evening. The moon has begun its slow journey toward the western horizon. Its pale light falls across sleeping fields where rows of barley and oats wait quietly beneath the cool night air. Tiny drops of moisture begin forming on leaves. The earth drinks deeply from the darkness before another warm day arrives. Near the village pond, frogs call softly to one another. Their voices rise and fall with patient rhythm. The sound is never hurried. It blends with the gentle whisper of reeds moving in the breeze. Water reflects the stars so clearly that it becomes difficult to tell where the heavens end and the earth begins. A fox walks carefully along the edge of the meadow. Its steps are light, almost silent. Its ears remain alert, turning toward every small sound hidden within the grass. It pauses beneath an old apple tree. The fruit has not yet fully ripened. Soon the orchard will become busy with gathering hands. But tonight it belongs only to quiet creatures moving beneath the moon. Farther away, beyond the fields, the forest breathes its own peaceful rhythm. Ancient oaks spread wide branches toward the sky. Their trunks are thick with moss. Their roots disappear deep beneath the soil, holding stories far older than the village itself. These trees stood here before the oldest grandfather was born. They shaded travelers whose names have long been forgotten. They have watched children grow into adults, then into old age, while remaining almost unchanged themselves. The forest keeps its memories without speaking. Within one cottage, an elderly man wakes for a brief moment. The habit comes naturally after many years. He listens quietly. The house is still. He hears the soft breathing of his family. A log shifts gently within the fireplace. Outside, an owl calls from somewhere beyond the gardens. Satisfied that all is well, he closes his eyes once more. Sleep returns quickly. There is comfort in familiar sounds. Nothing unexpected disturbs the night. Nearby, a young mother instinctively reaches toward the cradle beside her bed. Without fully waking, she gently touches the blanket wrapped around her sleeping child. The little one sighs softly before becoming still again. Even in sleep, care continues. Love requires no words during these quiet hours. Across the village, another family sleeps together within a single room. Privacy, as later generations may understand it, is rare here. The home is shared. Warmth is shared. Stories are shared. Work is shared. Even dreams seem to belong to the household rather than to one person alone. Children grow accustomed to the sounds of grandparents breathing nearby. Parents wake at the slightest cry. Everyone lives close together. The closeness brings both comfort and responsibility. As the night slowly passes, the air grows even cooler. Mist thickens across the low fields. Fence posts rise from it like quiet islands. The village church becomes only a soft outline beneath the stars. Its stone walls hold the coolness of the night. Soon they will slowly warm beneath the morning sun. Its bell remains silent. There is no reason to disturb peaceful sleep. Not yet. The roads leading toward neighboring villages lie empty. During daylight they welcome merchants, travelers, monks, shepherds, and wandering craftsmen. Now they belong only to the wind. Wheel ruts filled with yesterday's dust wait for tomorrow's carts. Tiny wildflowers growing beside the path close their petals until daylight returns. Nature itself seems to rest. Even the river beyond the fields appears slower beneath the darkness. Its surface reflects pale clouds drifting overhead. The current continues steadily, carrying fallen leaves, floating reeds, and tiny fragments of grass downstream. The river never truly sleeps. It simply continues its endless journey through the countryside. Generations of villagers have depended upon its waters. They drink from it, wash clothing beside it, fish within it, lead animals to its banks. Children learn to skip stones across its surface. Old people sit quietly beneath willow trees listening to its gentle voice. The river accompanies every stage of life. Within the barns, animals shift quietly upon beds of straw. A calf dreams, its legs moving slightly. A horse exhales warm breath into the cool air. The sheep remain gathered close together. They too rest after another ordinary day. Tomorrow they will return to pasture. Tomorrow the shepherd will once again follow familiar hills. Tomorrow will feel much like yesterday. That sameness is not dull. It is reassuring. It allows everyone to know where they belong. A baker knows when to prepare the oven. A miller knows when grain will arrive. A blacksmith knows which tools will soon require repair after harvest. A farmer knows the smell of approaching rain. A child knows exactly which path leads to the well, which leads to the pasture, and which disappears into the forest where berries ripen in late summer. Routine quietly becomes the map of an entire life. As the deepest darkness begins, almost unnoticed, to soften toward the promise of dawn, a faint cool breeze drifts across the sleeping village. It carries the scent of damp earth, wild herbs, fresh hay, and distant pine. It slips beneath doors and around shutters. It brushes gently against thatched roofs before continuing across the silent fields. The stars remain bright. Yet somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, morning has already begun its slow approach. No one sees it yet. The villagers continue sleeping beneath wool blankets and timber roofs, gathering strength for another day that will unfold with the same quiet rhythm their parents knew, and their grandparents before them, in a world where life is measured not by great events, but by the peaceful return of dawn, the warmth of bread from the oven, the steady work of familiar hands, and the enduring comfort of ordinary days lived close to the land. The first sign of morning is not light. It is a feeling. The cool air changes almost too gently to notice. The darkness is still deep above the village, yet the silence begins to shift in quiet, familiar ways. Night has not ended, but it slowly loosens its hold upon the fields, the cottages, and the winding roads that sleep beneath the stars. The eastern horizon remains hidden behind distant hills. Even so, the world is already preparing to wake. A single bird stirs among the branches of an old oak. It does not sing yet. It simply moves from one branch to another, feathers settling softly against the cool morning breeze. Nearby, another bird does the same. The village remains asleep. But nature is patient. It always wakes before people do. The mist lying across the meadows has become thicker during the final hours of darkness. It gathers in gentle folds over the grass, wrapping the fields in pale silver. Fence posts rise through it like quiet markers placed by unseen hands. The familiar paths that connect every cottage seem to disappear into the white veil before appearing again only a few steps farther ahead. Everything feels softer. The rough edges of the world have faded. The old stone walls that divide gardens from pasture seem almost to float. The trees stand perfectly still. Their leaves are covered with tiny drops of moisture that catch the faintest hint of approaching dawn. Each droplet waits patiently. Soon the morning light will awaken them. For now, they simply rest. Inside one cottage, the warmth from yesterday's fire has nearly vanished. Only a small cluster of glowing coals remains beneath the ash. The room has become cool enough that everyone sleeping beneath thick wool blankets naturally curls a little closer together. The youngest child turns quietly in sleep. A grandmother gently adjusts the blanket without opening her eyes. The movement comes from years of habit rather than thought. Care has become as natural as breathing. The room is peaceful. Wooden beams stretch across the ceiling. Bundles of dried onions hang beside herbs gathered months earlier. Simple tools rest where they were placed the previous evening. Nothing has moved. Nothing has changed. The house waits patiently for another day to begin. Outside, the rooster lifts its head. For several quiet moments, it remains perfectly still. Then, with complete confidence, it greets the coming morning. Its call carries across the sleeping village. Another answers from beyond the pasture. Then another from a neighboring farm. The sound travels across fields still wrapped in mist. It is not loud enough to disturb the peace. Instead, it feels like part of the landscape itself. No clock marks the hour. No bell announces the beginning of labor. The village has always listened to simpler voices. The birds. The wind. The changing sky. The animals. These are the oldest keepers of time. Slowly, the first window shutter opens. An elderly woman steps outside carrying a small basket. She pauses beside the doorway before beginning her morning work. The air is cool against her face. She breathes deeply. There is something special about these quiet moments before everyone else awakens. The village belongs to only a few early risers. The world feels larger somehow. She walks toward the chicken coop. The grass bends beneath her footsteps. Her shoes become damp with dew. She has walked this same short path almost every morning of her adult life. She no longer thinks about each step. Her body remembers the journey. The hens cluck softly as she opens the small wooden gate. Some have already left their nests. Others remain quietly settled. She reaches beneath them with gentle hands. Warm eggs rest in the straw. One by one, she places them into her basket with great care. Each egg is valuable. Each one represents another meal. Another day of careful living. Nothing is taken for granted. Farther along the lane, another cottage begins to wake. A young father quietly pushes open the heavy wooden door. He carries 2 empty buckets balanced across a wooden yoke resting upon his shoulders. The well stands only a short distance away. Even so, this walk is made several times each day. Water is needed for cooking, for washing, for drinking, for the animals. The path is familiar even in the half-light before sunrise. His footsteps make almost no sound. The village remains calm. Only a few candles flicker behind narrow windows. At the well, he lowers the bucket slowly. The rope slides over worn wood polished smooth by generations of hands. The splash echoes softly upward. He waits. Then begins the steady pull. The bucket feels heavier as it rises. Water glistens in the dim morning light. Tiny ripples spread across its surface. He fills the second bucket before beginning the careful walk home. The yoke presses gently against his shoulders. The weight is familiar. It no longer surprises him. Years of carrying have taught his body exactly how to balance each step. Nearby, the village baker is already awake. His work begins long before sunrise. Inside the bakery, yesterday's embers have been carefully stirred back into life. Small flames slowly grow beneath fresh pieces of dry wood. The great stone oven begins warming once again. Its thick walls hold heat for many hours. The baker mixes coarse flour with cool water drawn only moments ago. He adds a little salt. A small piece of saved starter from yesterday's dough. Then begins kneading. His hands press firmly. Fold. Turn. Press again. The rhythm never changes. The dough slowly becomes smooth beneath his palms. He has repeated these movements thousands upon thousands of times. Each loaf resembles the one before it. Not because he lacks imagination, but because families depend upon bread they know well. Consistency brings comfort. Outside, the eastern sky begins changing almost too slowly to notice. Black becomes deep blue. Deep blue softens toward gray. A thin line of pale silver appears where the land meets the heavens. The stars nearest the horizon quietly disappear. Higher above, the brightest still remain. The moon has grown faint. Its work is nearly finished. Morning gently takes its place. The first true birdsong begins. One voice. Then another. Soon dozens join together. Not in perfect harmony, but in peaceful conversation. The sound spreads through orchards, hedgerows, and open fields. It reaches every corner of the village. Children still sleep. Their dreams continue a little longer. Adults, however, begin stirring. Blankets are folded. Simple beds are straightened. Faces are washed with cool water that quickly chases away the final traces of sleep. The smell of fresh bread slowly begins drifting through the streets. It mixes with the scent of damp earth and fresh-cut hay stored inside nearby barns. Some villagers smile without realizing it. The smell of baking bread has welcomed nearly every morning of their lives. It carries quiet promises. Warmth. Food. Another ordinary day. Inside one cottage, a mother places a clay pot above the fire. Oats are poured into gently simmering water. She stirs slowly with a worn wooden spoon. Steam rises into the cool room. A handful of herbs is added. Perhaps a little milk if the family's cow has been generous. The meal is simple. Yet it is enough to begin another day of work. The children begin waking one by one. The youngest rubs sleepy eyes. An older sister quietly helps fasten a rough wool tunic. A small boy searches for the leather shoes he left beside the door the night before. There is no rushing. Only the familiar rhythm of another morning unfolding exactly as so many mornings have before. Outside, the first rays of sunlight finally reach the tops of the tallest trees. Their leaves glow softly with golden light. The mist begins to lift from the meadows. Tiny drops of dew sparkle across every blade of grass before slowly disappearing into the warming air. The village awakens not with noise, but with gentle purpose. Doors open. Voices remain low. Smoke rises from chimneys. Animals greet the day. The fields wait patiently beyond the last cottages, ready to welcome familiar footsteps once again. And so, as another peaceful dawn settles over the quiet medieval countryside, life begins anew with the same calm rhythm that has carried generations through the seasons, measured not by haste or ambition, but by the steady comfort of simple work, shared meals, faithful routines, and the soft promise that every sunrise offers another ordinary day worth living. The morning grows brighter with quiet certainty. The sun has now arisen above the distant hills, though its warmth has only begun to touch the countryside. Long shadows still stretch across the village lanes, reaching from cottage to cottage like gentle reminders of the cool night that has only recently passed. The air is fresh. The scent of damp earth lingers after the dew. Every breath feels clean. Above the rooftops, thin ribbons of smoke rise from dozens of chimneys, drifting slowly into the still morning sky. They carry the familiar smell of burning oak, beech, and ash, mixed with the comforting fragrance of fresh bread and warm porridge. The village has fully awakened. Yet it remains peaceful. People greet one another with quiet nods as they begin another day that feels much like yesterday, and much like the countless mornings before it. There is comfort in knowing what lies ahead. A farmer does not wonder what the morning will bring. The season has already answered that question. If it is spring, the soil must be prepared. If it is summer, the grain must be watched carefully. If autumn has arrived, every clear day becomes precious for gathering the harvest. If winter covers the fields, tools are repaired, wood is cut, and animals receive careful attention inside their shelters. The work changes with the seasons. The rhythm never does. A narrow lane slowly fills with familiar footsteps. One woman carries 2 baskets balanced across her arms. Inside them are onions, carrots, and fresh cabbage gathered from her garden before sunrise. She walks toward the cottage of an elderly neighbor who no longer finds it easy to tend the soil alone. No payment is expected. Perhaps one day the kindness will be returned. Perhaps it already has been many years ago. The memory of favors given is rarely counted. Neighbors help because village life depends upon many quiet acts of generosity. Across the lane, an older man slowly repairs a section of woven fence. The willow branches have become loose after many seasons of wind and rain. He kneels carefully beside the broken place. His hands are steady despite their age. Fresh branches bend easily beneath gentle pressure. One strand passes over another. Then beneath the next. Slowly the fence becomes strong once again. No one stops to admire it. It is simply one more necessary task completed before the day grows warm. Nearby, the village well becomes busy. Buckets rise and fall with soft splashes. Children wait patiently for their turn. Some are still learning how to balance the weight without spilling too much water before reaching home. An older sister quietly shows her younger brother how to walk with slower, steadier steps. The lesson needs few words. He watches. He copies. Little by little his movements become more confident. This is how most learning happens. Not inside large halls. not from written pages, but through patient observation. The village itself becomes the classroom. Every path teaches balance. Every season teaches patience. Every chore teaches responsibility. The baker opens his wooden door. The first loaves have already cooled enough to be carried home. The crusts are dark and firm. Their warmth can still be felt through the cloth wrapped around them. Families arrive carrying small sacks of grain or simple coins, depending upon the customs of the region and the year. Some exchange bread for eggs. Others for cheese. Sometimes a promise is enough until the next harvest. Trust is valuable here. Most people have known one another since childhood. The baker recognizes every face. He remembers who recently welcomed a new baby, who lost an aging parent during the previous winter, whose roof was damaged during the spring storms. The village shares not only work but memory. A young apprentice sweeps flour from the bakery floor. White dust rises briefly before settling once more. His movements are careful. He hopes one day to become a baker himself. For now, he learns by repeating simple tasks. Fetching water. Stacking firewood. Mixing dough. Cleaning tools. Every master was once an apprentice. Every skilled hand was once uncertain. Beyond the cottages, the fields slowly fill with workers. The morning sun shines softly across rows of barley that sway with the breeze. The sound is gentle, almost like the sea, though few villagers have ever seen the ocean. The grain whispers as the wind passes through it. Thousands of stalks move together. No single one stands apart. The farmers spread across the land, each tending a familiar strip of earth. Some loosen the soil around vegetables. Others inspect fences built to keep wandering animals away from growing crops. A pair of brothers guide an ox pulling a wooden plow. The animal moves with slow strength. Its breathing is steady. Its pace never changes. The wooden blade cuts neat lines into the earth. Fresh soil rolls gently aside. The scent rises immediately. Rich. Cool. Full of life. The brothers rarely speak. They have worked together for many years. Each knows when to guide the ox, when to lift the plow over a stone, when to pause and let the animal rest. Their silence is not empty. It is filled with quiet understanding. Near the edge of one field, a young girl gathers wildflowers. She does not pick many. Only a few. Blue cornflowers. Small white daisies. Bright yellow buttercups. She places them carefully into a tiny woven basket. Perhaps they will decorate the family table. Perhaps they will dry beside the herbs hanging inside the cottage. Perhaps she simply enjoys their beauty during the walk home. Even in a life filled with labor, there is room for small pleasures. An elderly shepherd watches his flock from the shade of an old elm tree. His crook rests across his knees. The sheep graze peacefully, spreading slowly across the hillside. The shepherd knows each familiar path through the pasture. He remembers where the sweetest grass grows after spring rain. He knows which stream remains cool even during the hottest weeks of summer. His days are long, often quiet, sometimes lonely. Yet the loneliness is softened by the steady company of the land itself. Clouds drift overhead. Swallows sweep gracefully through the sky chasing insects. The wind carries the scent of clover blooming beside the meadow. Hours pass gently. The shepherd measures time not by bells, but by sunlight moving across the hills. Back in the village, the blacksmith has begun heating iron. The forge glows bright orange. A bellows pushes fresh air into the fire. The flames answer with quiet strength. Soon a horseshoe becomes soft enough to shape. The blacksmith lifts it carefully with heavy tongs. His hammer rises, then falls. A clear ringing note echoes through the morning. Again. And again. The sound has become part of everyday life. Children barely notice it anymore. To them, it simply means the village is awake. The rhythm of the hammer joins the songs of birds, the turning of the mill wheel, the distant calls of shepherds, and the gentle creaking of wagon wheels rolling along dusty lanes. Each sound belongs. Together they create the quiet music of an ordinary morning. Near a cottage garden, bees move patiently among blooming herbs. Lavender sways beneath their weight. The tiny flowers hum with life. A woman pauses while hanging freshly washed linen upon a rope stretched between two wooden posts. The cloth moves gently in the breeze. Sunlight shines through the white fabric. For a few peaceful moments, she simply watches it dance. There is no urgency. The washing is finished. The next task can wait another minute. She closes her eyes and listens. Children laughing softly. A rooster calling once more. The steady rhythm of someone chopping firewood in the distance. The flutter of pigeons lifting from a rooftop. The village breathes around her. Slowly. Steadily. As it always has. Far beyond the last cottages, where the fields meet the edge of the forest, a narrow path disappears beneath tall trees. It has been worn smooth by countless generations. Merchants have walked it carrying bundles of cloth and salt. Pilgrims have followed it toward distant shrines. Hunters have returned along it with small game. Children have wandered only as far as they were permitted before turning back toward the safety of home. The path remembers every season. Spring mud clinging to boots. Summer dust rising beneath bare feet. Autumn leaves covering every footprint. Winter frost making each step careful and slow. Though each traveler is different, the journey remains much the same. The path endures, just as the village endures. The morning continues to unfold without hurry. The sun climbs a little higher. The dew disappears from the grass. The warmth begins to settle gently across the fields. The day's labor deepens, not with strain alone, but with the quiet confidence that comes from doing familiar work beside familiar people in a place where every stone, every tree, every winding lane, and every humble cottage has become part of the steady, unbroken rhythm of ordinary medieval life. The sun continues its slow climb across the morning sky. Its light grows warmer with every passing hour, gently drying the last traces of dew from the fields. The silver drops that covered every blade of grass at dawn have quietly disappeared, leaving behind the rich scent of damp soil warming beneath the new day. The village settles into the steady rhythm of work. By now, every household has found its place within the morning. The baker shapes another round of dough. The blacksmith tends the glowing forge. Children carry small baskets from one cottage to another. Farmers move patiently through the fields beyond the village. Nothing feels hurried. Each task arrives at its proper time. The hours themselves seem to know where they belong. Along one narrow lane, an elderly woman slowly sweeps the ground outside her doorway. Her broom is made from tightly bound twigs gathered the previous autumn. With slow, even strokes she brushes away loose straw, fallen leaves, and the dust carried in by yesterday's breeze. It is quiet work. No one praises it. No one notices when it is finished. Yet the entrance to the cottage feels welcoming because of these small daily acts. The home is cared for little by little. Never all at once. A cat stretches lazily upon a wooden step nearby. It has spent the night hunting mice inside the grain store. Now it closes its eyes beneath the growing warmth of the morning sun. Its ears move from time to time as sparrows flutter overhead. Otherwise, it remains perfectly still. The cat belongs to no single room. It wanders freely from barn to kitchen, from garden to stable, following its own peaceful routine. Everyone in the village knows it. No one is entirely certain where it sleeps. Beyond the cottages, several women walk together toward the stream. Each carries a bundle of freshly woven linen balanced upon her shoulder. The cloth must be washed before it is dried beneath the sun. The path slopes gently downhill. Wild flowers bloom beside it in scattered patches. Blue cornflowers nod in the breeze. Small white daisies brighten the edge of the track. Butterflies drift from flower to flower without haste. The women speak quietly as they walk. Their conversation rises and falls like the stream waiting ahead. They speak of gardens beginning to flourish. Of children who seem taller each passing season. Of an elderly neighbor whose roof may need repair before autumn arrives. Their voices remain calm. Long pauses settle comfortably between their words. Silence is never uncomfortable among people who have shared many years together. The stream greets them with its familiar murmur. Clear water slips over smooth stones polished by centuries of flowing current. Willow branches lean gently across the bank, their long leaves brushing the surface whenever the breeze stirs. The women kneel upon flat rocks worn smooth by countless washings. The linen is dipped into the cool water. Rubbed carefully. Rinsed again. The work follows a rhythm learned long ago. Hands move almost without thought. Children play nearby while they wait. One carefully floats a tiny twig downstream, watching it disappear beneath the branches. Another searches among the pebbles for stones with unusual colors. A little farther away, a boy skips a smooth pebble across the water. It touches the surface once. Twice. 3 times. Then sinks without a sound. He smiles quietly to himself. There is no audience. No prize. Only the simple pleasure of watching the circles spread gently across the stream. High above the fields, swallows dart gracefully through the morning air. Their wings move with remarkable speed. They chase insects almost without effort, turning sharply before gliding once more beneath the wide blue sky. The villagers seldom stop to watch them. The birds have always been there. They are as familiar as the changing seasons. Yet if someone does pause for a moment, there is quiet beauty in their flight. Near the village orchard, an old man carefully examines the fruit trees. He planted some of them decades ago. Others were already mature when he was a small child. He gently lifts one low branch. Tiny green apples are beginning to grow. Still hard. Still far from ripe. He smiles with quiet satisfaction. The trees have survived another winter. With patience, they will offer fruit before summer comes to an end. He notices a broken branch where last week's wind passed through. Without delay, he trims it cleanly with a small knife. A healthy tree rewards careful attention. Like nearly everything in the village, it asks only for patience and steady hands. Across the fields, farmers continue their labor beneath the steadily warming sun. Some bend low to remove stubborn weeds. Others spread compost gathered through the winter. Several workers repair shallow channels that guide rainwater across the fields after heavy storms. Every small task matters. One neglected ditch may flood a garden. One broken fence may allow hungry animals into growing crops. Village life depends upon countless small acts completed at the proper moment. The work is rarely dramatic. Its importance lies in its quiet consistency. A pair of oxen pause beneath the shade of a broad oak tree. Their driver loosens the harness for a short while. The animals lower their heads toward fresh grass. They chew slowly, blinking in the gentle light. The man removes his hat and wipes his forehead with a rough linen cloth. He drinks cool water from a wooden cup. Then he simply sits. There is no need to fill every pause with activity. Rest is part of work. The shade feels especially pleasant after hours beneath the open sky. Leaves rustle overhead. A wood pigeon calls from somewhere deep within the branches. The breeze carries the scent of clover and wild mint growing nearby. For several peaceful minutes, nothing more is required. Back in the village, smoke continues rising from a few cottages. Not every household bakes on the same day. Some prepare cheese. Others dry herbs gathered earlier in the morning. One family hangs strips of linen beside an open window where the gentle breeze will help them dry. Inside another home, a grandmother teaches a little girl how to braid straw. Their fingers move slowly together. The child makes several mistakes. The straw slips apart. She frowns for only a moment. The older woman smiles softly and begins again from the beginning. There is no impatience. Learning has always taken time. By watching. By trying. By quietly repeating each movement until it feels natural. Soon enough, the little girl's hands begin to understand what her eyes have been observing. The braid grows longer. A little uneven. But strong enough. She beams with quiet pride. The grandmother nods. No grand celebration follows. Only the gentle satisfaction that another small skill has begun its journey from one generation to the next. Near the edge of the village, the carpenter works beneath the shade of an open shelter. The scent of freshly cut oak fills the warm air. Long curls of pale wood gather around his feet. His plane glides smoothly across a rough board, leaving behind a surface that feels soft beneath his hand. He pauses often to inspect his work. Not because he doubts himself. Because careful work deserves careful attention. He is building a simple chest. Nothing ornate. Strong hinges. Solid joints. A lid that will open and close smoothly for many years. Perhaps it will hold blankets. Perhaps clothing. Perhaps treasured family belongings passed quietly from parents to children. Objects made well often outlive the people who first used them. The carpenter understands this. Every piece of wood carries a little of its own history. Every ring inside the timber marks another year of slow growth beneath the forest sky. By shaping it carefully, he gives those years a new purpose. The sun now stands noticeably higher. The cool freshness of early morning has begun to give way to gentle warmth. Shadows beneath the cottages have grown shorter. The birds continue singing, though less often than they did at dawn. The village no longer wakes. It is fully alive. Yet even in its busiest hours, there remains a quiet calm. Voices stay low. Movements remain patient. No one races from one task to another. Instead, each person gives steady attention to the work before them, trusting that the day, like so many before it, will unfold one peaceful hour at a time beneath the wide and welcoming sky. The warmth of the morning slowly settles across the countryside. The cool air that welcomed the first light has quietly slipped away. In its place comes the gentle comfort of a summer day beginning to unfold. The fields shimmer beneath the growing sun, and the roofs of the cottages seem to glow with a soft golden light. The village moves without haste. No bell tells the people to begin another task. No voice gives commands. Each person simply follows a rhythm that has become part of daily life. The seasons have taught everyone what must be done. The hours gently arrange themselves around that knowledge. From the village green, a narrow footpath winds toward the common pasture. Its surface is firm from generations of footsteps. The edges are softened by grasses and small wildflowers that return every spring. Many people walk this path each day. Children driving geese toward fresh grass. Shepherds leading sheep into the open fields. Farmers checking fences after a night of rain. Old men taking a slow morning walk before beginning lighter work around their homes. The path welcomes every footstep equally. It asks for nothing except patience. A flock of geese waddles slowly ahead of a young girl carrying a long willow switch. She rarely needs to use it. The geese know the journey almost as well as she does. They complain softly to one another as they walk. Occasionally one pauses beside a patch of particularly green grass. The girl waits with quiet patience. There is little point in rushing geese. Eventually they gather together again and continue toward the meadow. The morning is still young. There is plenty of time. Beyond the pasture, the hayfields stretch gently across rolling land. The grasses are nearly ready to be cut. Farmers inspect them carefully. They know that choosing the right moment matters. Too early, and the hay will not feed the animals well through winter. Too late, and much of its goodness may be lost. Years of watching the land have sharpened their judgment. They notice details that visitors might never see. The color of the stalks. The firmness of the seed heads. The scent carried by the breeze. Nature offers quiet signs to those who have learned to observe. A pair of brothers stand together near the edge of one field. Neither speaks for several moments. They simply look across the tall grass as it bends gently in the wind. One reaches down and rubs a handful of stems between his fingers. The other nods almost imperceptibly. No long discussion is needed. Tomorrow, if the weather remains fair, they will begin cutting. The decision has been made with little more than shared experience. Back in the village, the sound of spinning wheels drifts from several cottages. The gentle turning has become as familiar as birdsong. Inside one home, a woman sits near the open doorway where the morning light falls across her work. Soft wool rests in a basket beside her. Her fingers draw the fibers carefully into thread. The wheel turns with quiet rhythm. Round and round. Again and again. Hours may pass this way. The work is steady. It leaves space for thought. Sometimes she hums an old tune that her mother sang before her. Sometimes she works in silence, listening only to the breeze moving through the garden. Nearby, a little boy watches with curious eyes. He reaches toward the wheel but stops before touching it. His mother smiles gently. When he is older, she will teach him the parts of the wheel and how it works. For now, watching is enough. Many lessons begin this way. Patiently. Without hurry. Near the blacksmith's forge, a farmer arrives carrying a broken sickle. The wooden handle has split where years of use have slowly weakened it. The iron blade remains strong. The blacksmith examines it carefully. He turns it over in his hands. Runs a thumb lightly along its edge. Then nods. A new handle can be made. The blade will serve for many more harvests. The farmer thanks him quietly. Neither man speaks much. Their understanding is simple. Good tools deserve another chance. Nothing useful is discarded without reason. The forge is warm now. The fire glows brightly beneath dark pieces of charcoal. The blacksmith places a length of iron into the heart of the flames. He works steadily, never rushing the metal. Iron has its own pace. It cannot be forced. When the color becomes bright enough, he lifts it with heavy tongs. The hammer rises. Then falls. A clear ring spreads through the village. Children playing nearby pause for only a moment before returning to their games. To them, the sound is as ordinary as the crowing rooster at dawn. Along another lane, a cooper shapes narrow oak staves for a new barrel. His workshop smells of fresh wood and warm shavings. Each piece must fit perfectly beside the next. Even a tiny gap would allow precious grain, ale, or water to escape. He checks every stave with careful hands. A small adjustment here. A gentle scrape there. Slowly, the circle begins to take shape. The barrel seems almost to grow by itself beneath his patient work. Nothing in the workshop is hurried. Time spent carefully now saves trouble later. Near the gardens, bees continue moving from flower to flower. Lavender has opened fully beneath the warming sun. Its purple blossoms sway gently in the breeze. The steady hum fills the air. Children have learned not to disturb the bees. They understand that the insects ask only to be left in peace. In return, the gardens bloom more beautifully each year. A grandmother steps into her herb garden carrying a small woven basket. She kneels carefully among the rows. Mint releases its cool fragrance as her fingers brush the leaves. Sage feels soft beneath her hand. Chamomile flowers nod gently as she gathers only those that are ready. She never takes more than she needs. The garden will continue giving if treated with kindness. She knows which herbs will be dried for winter teas, which will flavor stews, which may comfort someone with a cough once colder weather returns. This knowledge has traveled quietly through many generations. It lives in memory more than in words. Across the fields, several children are trusted with a simple task. They carry lunch to family members working far from the village. Each child balances a small basket carefully. Inside rests dark bread wrapped in linen. A piece of cheese. Perhaps an onion. Perhaps a few apples kept from the previous autumn in the cool storage cellar. A clay jug holds Waterdale or cool well water. The children know exactly where to go. The winding paths through the fields are as familiar as the rooms of their own homes. Along the way they stop now and then to admire a butterfly or watch a skylark rise high into the bright blue sky. Even while carrying responsibility, they remain children. Wonder is never far away. When they reach the fields, the farmers smile warmly. Work pauses for a few peaceful moments. Hands dusty with soil accept bread with quiet gratitude. The meal is simple. No one expects anything grand. After hours spent beneath the open sky, plain food tastes especially satisfying. The workers sit in the shade of a hedge or beneath a lone ash tree. Boots are loosened. Water is shared. Conversation drifts gently from one topic to another. Someone remembers a particularly snowy winter from many years before. Another recalls how the river flooded when he was a boy. An older woman laughs softly while telling how a stubborn goat once escaped into the vegetable gardens and somehow avoided being caught until sunset. The laughter is gentle. It fades naturally back into comfortable silence. The breeze moves through the leaves overhead. Tiny patches of sunlight dance across the grass. Some workers close their eyes for a moment, not sleeping, but simply enjoying the stillness before the afternoon asks once more for steady hands. Beyond them, the village continues its quiet rhythm. The mill wheel turns without complaint. The forge glows. The spinning wheels hum. The gardens flourish. The streams flow patiently toward distant rivers. And above it all, the sun climbs a little higher, watching another ordinary morning unfold with the same calm grace that has shaped the forgotten routine of medieval peasants for countless generations, where life is woven together from simple labors, familiar faces, and the peaceful certainty that each day, though humble, carries its own quiet beauty. By the time the sun stands higher in the sky, the morning has quietly become late morning. The cool freshness that welcomed the first hours of daylight has faded into a gentle warmth. Across the fields, the air begins to shimmer ever so slightly above the earth. The breeze still moves now and then, carrying the scent of fresh grass, damp soil, and distant wood smoke, but it comes more slowly than it did at dawn. The village settles into its longest hours of work. These are the steady hours. The hours when every person knows exactly where they should be. The excitement of waking has long passed. The peaceful comfort of evening is still far away. Between them lies the quiet heart of the day. A farmer pauses beside a narrow stream that winds through the edge of his field. He kneels and cups cool water in both hands. The water slips through his fingers before he drinks again. It is clear enough to reflect the pale blue sky above. Small fish dart between smooth stones. Tiny insects dance across the surface, barely disturbing the current. For a few moments he simply listens. The steady movement of water. The soft rustling of reeds. The distant song of a skylark rising almost out of sight. Then he stands once more. The field is waiting. The work continues. Nothing urges him forward except the gentle habit of another ordinary day. Not far away, a pair of women kneel in a vegetable garden. The rows are neat but never perfectly straight. Nature has its own gentle way of shaping every growing thing. The women loosen the soil around onions and leeks with simple wooden tools. From time to time they pull away small weeds before they spread too far. The baskets beside them slowly fill with fresh vegetables. Their hands move almost without thought. Years of tending gardens have made every motion smooth and careful. The younger of the two notices a ladybird resting upon a broad cabbage leaf. She smiles quietly. Neither woman disturbs it. The tiny insect continues its slow journey, unaware that anyone has stopped to admire it. Life in the garden is full of such small companions. Bees drift among herbs. Butterflies wander through the flowers. Spiders patiently rebuild delicate webs after each morning's dew has weighed them down. Every corner of the garden feels quietly alive. At the edge of the village stands a small orchard surrounded by a low woven fence. The apple trees spread their branches wide, casting cool circles of shade upon the grass below. Several children sit beneath one of the oldest trees while an elderly grandfather carves a small wooden whistle. The knife moves carefully. Thin curls of pale wood fall gently into his lap. The children watch every movement. Sometimes one asks a question. The old man answers with a patient smile. Most of the lesson comes not from words, but from watching steady hands that have shaped wood for many decades. When the whistle is finished, he blows softly. A clear, gentle note floats through the orchard. One of the younger children laughs. Not loudly. Just enough to brighten the quiet afternoon that still lies ahead. The old man hands the whistle to the smallest child. Tiny fingers turn it over with wonder. Something so simple feels almost magical. Yet it was made from an ordinary branch that might otherwise have become firewood. Many beautiful things begin with ordinary materials. Near the carpenter's shelter, fresh planks of oak lean against the wall. They were cut many months ago and left to dry slowly beneath cover. Wood cannot be hurried. If shaped too soon, it may twist or crack. The carpenter knows this well. He runs his hand across one smooth board before choosing it for today's work. He measures carefully with a length of cord marked by small knots. His tools are few. A saw. A plane. Several chisels. a wooden mallet polished by years of use. Each tool has its place. Each has earned its smooth handle through countless hours of honest work. He begins shaping a new bench for a neighboring family. The legs are simple. The seat is broad enough for several people to sit together during the evening meal. He imagines children climbing upon it. Grandparents resting after long days. Parents mending clothing beside the fire. The bench will become part of another household's quiet routine. Long after he is gone, it may still stand beside another family's table. Beyond the houses, the common pasture has become lively with grazing animals. Cows lower their heads into thick grass. Sheep wander slowly across gentle hillsides. A young shepherd whistles softly to his dog. The faithful animal circles the flock with calm confidence. There is no need for barking today. The sheep remain together. The morning has been peaceful. The shepherd carries a small pouch at his belt. Inside are a crust of bread, a little cheese, and a smooth stone that he found many years ago beside the river. He keeps it simply because it feels pleasant in his hand. Sometimes, while watching the flock, he turns it slowly between his fingers. It reminds him of quiet afternoons from his childhood. Simple objects often hold quiet memories. A woven basket. A carved spoon. A smooth stone. A faded piece of cloth stitched by a grandmother long ago. These things become companions through the years. At the village well, activity has slowed. Most families have already carried enough water for the morning. Now only an occasional bucket rises from the cool darkness below. The rope creaks softly against the worn wooden beam. The stones around the well shine where countless hands have polished them over generations. Children often sit nearby while their parents work. They draw shapes in the dust with sticks. They stack smooth pebbles into tiny towers. They invent quiet stories about birds nesting beneath the rooftops. Their games require almost nothing. The world around them provides enough. Farther along the lane, the cooper has nearly finished binding a barrel with iron hoops. He taps each one gently into place. The wood answers with a deep, satisfying sound. He fills the barrel with a little water to test the joints. Not a single drop escapes. He nods with quiet approval. Another sturdy barrel is ready to begin its long life. It may carry grain after harvest. Ale during festivals. Salted fish from a nearby market. Or perhaps apples gathered in autumn. Whatever its purpose, it has been built to endure many seasons. The village values such things. Objects are expected to last. Not because they are expensive, but because every hour of careful work deserves respect. As the sun climbs still higher, the birds grow quieter. Many settle into the shade of hedgerows and orchards. Only the occasional song drifts through the warm air. The insects now provide much of the countryside's gentle music. Bees hum among blooming herbs. Grasshoppers begin their steady rhythm in the meadows. Dragonflies glide above the stream, their delicate wings flashing briefly in the sunlight before disappearing again. The breeze becomes lighter. The leaves of the great oak trees barely move. Under their broad branches, the shade feels cool and welcoming. Several farmers stop there for a brief rest before returning to the fields. No one speaks for a while. One man removes his hat and closes his eyes. Another slowly stretches his tired back. A third watches clouds drifting lazily overhead. The silence feels complete. No one tries to fill it. The land itself offers enough company. After a few peaceful moments, someone rises first. Without a word, the others follow. The rest has done its work. The fields still wait. Beyond the gentle hills, the road leading to the next village lies quiet beneath the late morning sun. Soon a merchant's cart may appear. Perhaps a monk walking toward a distant monastery. Perhaps a traveler carrying news from another valley. But for now, only the wind moves along the road, stirring little swirls of dust before letting them settle once more. The village continues much as it always has. The forge rings softly in the distance. The mill wheel turns with patient certainty. Gardens grow beneath careful hands. Children learn by watching. Animals graze beneath the open sky. And the hours pass almost unnoticed, woven together by familiar work, quiet kindness, and the gentle rhythm of ordinary medieval life, where every simple task becomes part of a day that asks for little more than patience, steady hands, and gratitude for another peaceful morning beneath the wide and timeless sky. As the morning gently leans toward midday, the village settles into its calmest rhythm. The early hours have already passed, yet the afternoon has not quite arrived. The sun hangs higher above the fields, spreading a warm light that reaches every garden, every pasture, every winding lane, and every weathered rooftop. Shadows become shorter, gathering close beneath trees and cottages as if seeking shelter from the growing brightness. The pace of work does not change very much. Only the light changes. The sounds remain familiar. A hammer rings from the blacksmith's forge. The mill wheel turns with its slow wooden creak. Sheep call softly from distant hills. Somewhere nearby, a rooster announces himself once again, though no one truly needs reminding that the day is well underway. Life follows its own quiet measure. In one small cottage, a woman opens the wooden shutters a little wider. Fresh air drifts into the room. It carries the scent of flowering herbs growing beneath the window. Bundles of lavender hang from the ceiling beams, drying slowly in the warmth. Their fragrance has become part of the house itself. Visitors notice it immediately. The family barely notices it at all. Some comforts become so familiar that they blend gently into everyday life. She places a clay bowl upon the table and begins sorting dried beans gathered the previous season. One by one, small stones are removed. Broken shells are set aside. The good beans fall softly into another bowl. The work requires little effort but steady attention. Her fingers move with quiet certainty. She learned this task as a child while sitting beside her own mother. Years have passed since then. Now her own children watch from nearby. Without realizing it, they are learning the same careful habits. Nothing is hurried. There is no reason to rush. The beans have waited patiently all winter. They can wait another few moments. Outside, the village dogs wander lazily between cottages. They pause to greet familiar faces. One settles beneath the shade of a wagon resting beside a barn. Another follows an elderly man carrying a small bundle of kindling. The dogs belong to everyone in a quiet sort of way. They guard homes during the night. They accompany shepherds into the fields. They wait patiently beside farmers eating their midday bread. Their lives follow the same gentle rhythm as the people around them. Near the edge of the common meadow, several boys help gather loose branches that have fallen after last week's wind. The branches are not large. Each one is easy enough to carry beneath an arm. Still, together they will become a useful stack beside someone's hearth. The boys compete only a little. One finds a branch slightly longer than the others. Another discovers a piece already dry enough for burning. They smile quietly at their small victories. Soon enough, the branches are tied together with rough rope. The bundle will be dragged home along the dusty path. As they walk, they stop now and then to examine interesting things hidden among the grass. A beetle with a shell that shines like polished bronze. A feather dropped by a passing hawk. An oddly shaped stone worn smooth by rain. To grown eyes these may seem ordinary. To children they become tiny treasures. The countryside is filled with such quiet discoveries. Every walk offers something new to notice. Farther away, where the fields stretch toward the horizon, a farmer bends over rows of beans climbing rough wooden poles. The vines have grown quickly since the last rain. He gently guides one wandering stem back toward its support. His fingers are careful. Plants can be surprisingly delicate. A careless movement might break what many weeks have patiently grown. The breeze carries the scent of warm earth mixed with crushed mint growing along the edge of the garden. Bees continue their steady work among the blossoms. Above them, clouds drift lazily across the bright sky. None seem likely to bring rain. The farmer glances upward for only a moment. He has learned to read the weather from countless seasons spent outdoors. The shape of the clouds. The direction of the wind. The feel of the air against his face. These quiet signs often speak before the first drop of rain ever falls. Near the stream, two sisters kneel beside a patch of reeds. They are cutting long, straight stems with small knives. The reeds will dry in the sunshine before being woven into simple mats. Their movements are slow. Each stem is chosen carefully. Too young, and it bends too easily. Too old, and it becomes brittle. Good weaving begins long before the work itself. It begins with choosing the right materials. The older sister ties neat bundles with strips of willow bark. The younger watches closely before making her own bundle. It is slightly uneven. She unties it and tries again. No one tells her to hurry. Patience is the quiet companion of nearly every craft. Along the stream, dragonflies skim over the water like tiny flashes of blue and green glass. The current moves steadily beneath them. Tiny fish dart among the shadows cast by overhanging branches. A kingfisher suddenly appears, bright against the green riverbank. For one brief moment it hovers. Then it dives into the clear water. Almost instantly it rises again, carrying a small fish before disappearing into the trees. The sisters pause to watch. The entire moment lasts only a heartbeat. Then they return to their work. The stream continues flowing as though nothing remarkable has happened. Perhaps to the stream, nothing has. Within the village, the smell of bread has slowly faded. Now another fragrance fills the air. Vegetable stew simmers gently inside several cottages. Onions soften in iron pots. Leeks release their sweet aroma. Fresh herbs are added one small handful at a time. The scent drifts through open doorways and across the lanes, mixing with the warmth of sunlit timber and flowering gardens. An elderly widow carefully tends a small patch of medicinal plants behind her home. She grows yarrow, comfrey, sage, and chamomile. Some are used for tea. Others become simple poultices for tired muscles or small cuts earned during long days of work. She kneels slowly, mindful of her aging knees. Even so, her hands remain gentle and sure. She whispers softly to herself as she works. Not words meant for anyone else. Just quiet thoughts carried on the breeze. She knows each plant almost as one knows old friends. She remembers where every root lies beneath the soil. She notices the first tiny leaves of new growth before anyone else would. Years spent caring for the garden have taught her to see small changes that others easily miss. Beyond the village, a narrow bridge crosses the stream. It is built from thick oak planks darkened by years of weather. The railing has become smooth where countless hands have rested while crossing. Children often pause halfway across to watch the water below. Travelers stop there to drink. Farmers lean against it for a moment before continuing toward the fields. The bridge asks for nothing. It simply carries one generation after another across the gentle current. Its builders have long since passed into memory. Yet their careful work remains. The carpenter who shaped each beam could never have known how many footsteps would follow. Still, he built it well. That was enough. The sun continues its patient journey. The warmth deepens. Shadows gather tightly beneath trees. The village becomes quieter for a little while. Even the birds seem content to rest among cool branches until the stronger heat begins to soften later in the day. Only the steady sounds remain. The turning of the mill. The murmur of the stream. The distant ringing of the forge. The quiet voices of neighbors greeting one another across garden fences. Together they weave the gentle music of another ordinary day, where every humble task, every familiar face, and every peaceful hour becomes part of the forgotten routine of medieval peasants, unfolding slowly beneath the warm embrace of the late morning sun. The warmth of late morning continues to settle gently across the countryside. The sun now hangs high enough that the shadows beneath the cottages have become short and quiet. The fields shimmer softly in the growing light, and the sounds of the village blend into one peaceful rhythm. The steady creak of the mill wheel, the distant ring of the blacksmith's hammer, the murmur of the stream, and the quiet voices of neighbors drift together like a familiar melody that has been heard for generations. For a brief moment, it seems as though the entire village breathes together. The baker pauses to wipe flour from his hands before returning to another loaf. The shepherd looks once across his grazing flock, satisfied that all is calm. A mother lifts a pot from the fire and smiles as the gentle scent of herbs fills her small home. Children, their morning chores completed, sit beneath the shade of an old tree for a few peaceful moments before another simple task calls them away. Nothing extraordinary has happened. No great battle has been fought. No king has ridden through the village. No grand celebration has interrupted the quiet flow of the day. And yet, this ordinary morning has been filled with countless moments that gave meaning to the lives of those who lived it. Every loaf kneaded by hand. Every bucket drawn from the well. Every careful stitch in a worn cloak. Every seed pressed into the earth with hope for seasons yet to come. These small acts, repeated day after day, became the foundation upon which medieval life quietly rested. The villagers did not think of their routines as history. To them, it was simply life. The familiar path to the fields. The comforting warmth of the hearth. The gentle greeting of a neighbor. The faithful return of dawn after every peaceful night. As the sun slowly climbs toward midday, the village carries on with the same calm patience that has guided it through countless seasons. The hours ahead promise more honest labor, shared meals beneath the open sky, and the quiet companionship of familiar faces. And so this part of our gentle journey comes to a natural resting place, leaving the village exactly as we found it, alive with simple work, wrapped in peaceful routine, and waiting quietly beneath the warm medieval sun for another unhurried hour to unfold.